2. The player exists, he's animated, but now we want to make him actually move and feel good to control. Movement states, a third-person camera, and a centralized input system. Just a heads up, this part will have probably the most code in the entire series, so take it at your own pace, take as many breaks as you need, and make sure you're always stretching and standing up. So inside of our player script, let's first just delete everything other than the extended character body. From here, we're going to add 3 variables: gravity, maximum stamina, and stamina regen rate. There are 3 other variables we'll add after that, but these ones are going to be our export variables. They kind of all do exactly what they sound like. This will be our gravity. This will be our maximum stamina for actually using stamina later. We will use this in the run state. The stamina regen will, again, regen our stamina. And after that, we need 3 more variables. We need the paused variable, stamina variable, and invincible variable. Paused is going to be Boolean, and so is invincible. Stamina is just going to be our current stamina. So you could honestly just rename this to current stamina. And that is it. Now, one more variable is the state machine. We need to be able to access the state machine from our player. So we'll simply say on ready var state machine node state machine. All right. And from there, we are good to go and start actually adding some functions. From here, we need a function that allows us to quickly get the gravity in a vector 3, because this is a float. And we could use this as a vector 3, but instead what we'll do is create a function that is get player gravity. And here it'll just say it's a vector 3. It's going to return vector 3. And we will again return a vector 3 with 0, 0, and gravity in the middle. So this will have y for our y axis gravity. Now, whenever we need to access our gravity, this is a good, convenient way of doing so. One more thing we'll do is add a process function. Inside of that function, we will add, notice the pattern here. The idle state generates stamina, but only when we're not running. Little rules like this live inside the state, not scattered everywhere. And here's the golden rule for the whole series. The player owns the math. Like how you move, the state just decides when it's allowed. Keep that split in your head so that way the code stays clear and clean in the future. Add a condition that allows us to check if our current state is something that we want. Now, in this case, what we'll do is we can simply say if state machine and state machine get current state. This will basically check to see if our state machine actually exists and we can get the current state. If it does, then what we'll check is to see if the current state dot name is not equal to run. If it isn't equal to run, then what we'll do is add stamina. So this will immediately make use of our stamina regen that we just added. So now when we actually reduce stamina in one of the states, we will have a way of quickly regenning our stamina. Now, the awesome part about this is that when we're in the run state, it won't regen mana or stamina because of this condition. Because if we're in the run state, we won't be able to get stamina. All right. Now, the last part is just to make sure we kind of already have this. We have it right here, but we're going to add a ready function that sets our current stamina to the max stamina. Now, the reason we do this is because in the future, let's say we add save and load functions, and we want to change our max stamina, right? The player, like in the game, has now a max stamina of 200, let's say. You don't want to start your player scene where you have 100 out of 200. Well, no, you would want to start it at 200 out of 200. All right, that would be kind of weird to start at a weird valued max stamina. All right, now that is the player script. Let's close that. And now let's go ahead and create our idle state. There we go. Now we created our idle state script. We will now pop this up. And the first thing we need to do is make sure we define this state properly at the top. So the first thing we need to do is extend state and then create our own class name idle state. From there, we will add two variables that allow us to make use of this friction and floor snap. Inside of the ready variable or ready function, we will do two things. First, add an animation name or set our animation name to idle. And then we'll also say can move equal to true. Now inside of the state, we need to make sure to add these two variables. If you haven't done so yet, go ahead and do that. And then going back to the idle state, we will also need to add a couple other functions. We won't need the process function. We will simply only need function enter. Inside of here, we'll say super.enter. And then we will need the physics, physics update. Now this physics update is again using the update we're using inside of the actual state. So keep that in mind. Now inside of this physics update, this is where we'll use or create the actual logic of our player going into idle state. The first thing we'll do is we will say, if the player is not on the floor, let's add this gravity. Now we are getting an error here, and that is because the delta here is not the same. So we need to change this to delta. But yeah, so here we'll add gravity. If not, we will simply snap our player down to the floor. All right. From there, that's the gravity, but we need to actually decelerate our player. And we can do that by saying player.velocity.x and z will simply take the current velocity of the x and z and bring it to 0 over a delta of friction times delta. Now, this is pretty much it. But there is one more thing to actually make this work, which is player move and slide. Now this player will actually be able to move. Now let's go ahead and go back to our state and update this script a little bit. The first thing we want to add is a couple variables to be able to access things. So first off, we want to access the animation tree, and we can do that by saying variable animation tree, animation tree. We haven't accessed anything yet, but we've created something to be able to access later. The other thing we'll need to do is using the animation player, and this is called an animation node state machine playback. We'll get into this a little later, but the idea here is that this will access inside of the animation tree and be able to play something for us. Now, the last thing we'll do is an input controller, and that is also for later. I know it sounds kind of odd to say like, oh, all this is later, but good planning is always part of good coding. So we are going to create an input controller. We already know this, so we'll be able to access it inside of our state. Now, one last thing inside of this script is to edit the enter function, which is to say, if animation name not equal empty and the animation player exists, then what we'll do is animation player dot travel to the animation name. Now this, let's go over this really slowly. This is basically checking if our animation name is valid and the animation player is accessed properly. Then we'll simply go into the animation player and travel. Now, what does this mean? Inside of our animation tree that we've already set up, basically, if I want to travel to walk, we will now go to walk. If I want to travel to idle, I will go to idle. Now, the cool part about this is that we have already created the idle state. We can add our idle state here, and you'll see the animation name here is empty, but obviously we already changed the script here. So inside of here, we have the animation name. Now, if you want, of course, you can just add idle over here. It will do the exact same thing. You don't even need any of this. You could just do this here, but I'm doing it in both just to show you how this works. And that's it. So now when we go into the idle state, it'll automatically play the idle animation for us. And you can imagine now creating other states like the walk state is going to be very similar in how we create this idle state. Let's go ahead and go to the next state. Now that we've created the idle state, we now want to actually test it. To do this though, what we want to do is go to the state machine and make sure that we select the initial state. Otherwise, we'll never actually initialize into any state. Now, let's just hit play and see what happens. Okay, so we've entered the idle state, but let's see what's actually happening in the remote section. If we go over to the state machine, we will notice that the dictionary actually has two states, and idle state and idle. Now, that's not really correct. The current state is the idle state, so that's correct, and you can see it right here. However, inside the state machine code, here we replace the node with the state. Now, this is why we have two states. So in order to fix this, all we need to do is change the name to idle. So from now on, whenever we add a state, we just need to name it whatever the class thing is. So if it's idle, we just say idle. If it's move, we just call it move. Okay. And we can hit play one more time, remote, go to state machine, and we now see that we only have the idle state, which is perfect. And that's it. All right, so next up is to create the walk state. To do this, we will simply duplicate the idle state and call it walk state. We'll go into the walk state script, and I'm going to replace the idle state with walk state, and I'm going to replace these variables with three others. We're going to create a walk speed, accel time, and rotation speed. And we're going to make sure we export all three. These ones, we will just delete all these lines. We can keep these, except this one, we'll just turn it into walk, and can move we'll leave as true. one other thing we will put in the enter. Nope, that is it. This next bit might trip a lot of you guys up. So let me clarify. We're doing camera relative movement. Forward means forward relative to where the camera is, not a fixed world direction. That's why we grabbed the camera's basis and projected our input into it. If you've ever played a 3D game where pushing up sent you the wrong way, that's this, but done wrong. So we're going to do it right. Actually, yeah, right. Now in the physics update, this is the question. How do we get our player to move? First off, we'll actually get some input direction. We can do this by saying input direction is equal to input.getVector, and then we will put the vectors that we want. Now, the way that this works is it's basically a 2 vector. So it's going to return 0, 0, or 0, 1, 1, 0, etc. Now, 1, 0 would mean that I'm going to the right, meaning that right is active. Now, what we would fill in these is like so. We would fill move left with move right, move backward, and move forward. So basically, if I press move right, this will be 0 and this will be 1. If I press move forward, this will be 1 and this will be 0, giving us 1, 1. If I press left, this will give me -1 and this won't activate, so it'll just be 0. And then move backward will be -1 as well. So that would be -1 like so. Now, do remember that this is a vector too, so we'll make use of this later. Okay, next up is to use our camera to actually move, because the way that a lot of Souls-like players move is by using the camera direction. Now, what we'll do is we'll get the current camera by simply saying player.getViewport.getCamera3D. This is awesome because this will allow us to just access whatever current camera is being used. Now, we'll also create a forward and right vector, but these are 3D vectors. So just keep that in mind. That is slightly different than the 2D vector. All right, next up is to check if the camera exists. If the camera exists, we will say forward is equal to the negative global transform basis.z of the camera, and right is the same thing, but of the x-axis. Now, if the camera doesn't exist, this is basically just a fallback to use the exact same thing, but it's just going to use positive values for both. Next up, what we'll do is we'll set the y of the forward and right to 0, because this is just the basically jumping, right? Which in this case, we don't want to jump. Jump is going to be its own state later on. Now, what we can do is normalize these two variables that we just created. Forward.normalize and right.normalize. We'll just set it to itself, but normalize it. All right, once we've done all that, we now want to get the desired direction. This basically just simplifies everything and puts it all into one variable so far. So we have our input variable and our right and forward variable that we just got, and we're going to multiply those by each other and normalize it. Now, we will only move if the desired direction is not equal to 0. If it's not equal to 0, then that's where we're going to move. Now, before we start moving, we simply want to also create an accelerate and target velocity. This will basically just allow us to create two different variables that we want that we'll use in just a second. And we use it inside of the player velocity x and z. So here we will use the current velocity of the player, which realistically it'll either be 0 or it'll be slightly higher than the walk state, because the walk state is slower than the run state. So if it is higher, that's totally fine. It'll take whatever value the current velocity is and bring it down or up to the target velocity that we want. It'll also use the accelerate times delta, because this should all be inside of the physics update. Right, now that takes care of moving, but now we want to take a look at turns. Now, first, we'll get the current direction of the player, which is super easy. We just need to get the velocity x and z of the player, and that'll give us where the player is facing. Now, to slow the player down, all we need to do is check if the current direction is not 0. If it isn't, then we will get the alignment, we'll get the turn slowdown, and we'll simply multiply the velocity by those two values. Now, the last part, which is probably the most crucial, is to rotate our player towards the movement itself. So a lot of the time we do use the camera to start our movement, but if I move in a different direction of the camera, that's totally fine, but we need our actual player, so the model, to actually start looking towards our where we're moving. And we do that by getting the target angle, by taking our desired direction, x and z, then we'll get our current angle, inside of a variable. We can get the angle difference like so, and finally rotate it by just adding to the y direction angle difference times rotation speed times delta. Now, we do have a idle state where we already get our player down to 0, but what we want to do is add an else statement for this one right here. This will basically allow us to move towards 0 if I'm not moving. So if I'm not moving anymore, then obviously I do go into the idle, but this will start it prematurely, so that way we can start going to 0 if I exit this state. And lastly, we do want to add gravity, so we'll just do that by adding an if not player on floor. Then we'll take our player towards the gravity by using the function we made earlier in an earlier video, and then times delta. All right, and that is the walk state. If you feel lost at any point, feel free to check my website for more in-depth steps. It helps you build all this step by step by writing it in code in the actual site before actually bringing it into Godot. So give it a look if you are confused.